Hi, welcome to Far From Eden. It astounds me that there are still men who have never heard of the red pill movement. They've never heard of the phrase MGTOW. They've never heard of it. I kind of get the MGTOW a little bit, but red pill, I just feel like you have to be under a rock. They've never heard of it, and it astounds me. And I find out in various ways because the other day it came up. There was a person I was speaking with, a man I was talking to, and the fact that I had a YouTube channel came up. It was relevant to the conversation. This was not a romantic partner interest or anything like that. And he's like, what is it about? Oh, red pill content. What is that? What? That sound of a record? I was like, what? And so I was taken aback, and I kind of was like, well, gosh, how do I say this in a nutshell? And I just was like, well, it's about men's issues and etc. And this was completely news to him. Now, this was a gentleman who was, I would say, in his 30s. He was American. He was African American. He had no idea about this situation. He was a police officer. So the other thing, it's not just that they've never heard of red pill content, MGTOW, etc. They also, when I speak with them, when they've gone through something, their wife has just left them because they're not happy, what have you, and they're trying to figure out like what they did wrong or what they could have done. They have no idea the situation in the family courts. They have no idea about the rampant parental alienation that's going on. They have no idea about the rampant accusations to try to get the custody. They have no idea about any of this. And they think they're the only one it's happening to, which is very difficult because then it's even harder for them to realize it's not their fault. I try to explain, listen, this is not your fault. You could have been the world's most perfect man, and it wouldn't have mattered. She doesn't hate you because you're a terrible person. She hates you because she's hateful. Why am I saying all this about these men don't know? Because I think that even though politics in this country right now are so divided, it is serving to show men, in case they don't know, that yeah, they don't care about you. The government, the West, women, feminists, they don't care about you. They hate you. Like, you can say they just don't care about us. I would go further and say, no, it's worse than that. They really, really hate you. And I think some of this polarity that's going on right now between the two candidates serves to show them that. And I came across an article actually earlier today. I was planning on making a different video today, but I came across an article. It's quite timely. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for the man who I saw share it on Facebook. His name is Tim Goldich, and he is the president of the Chicago chapter of the National Coalition for Men. When I first started my channel, one of the gentlemen from the National Coalition for Men reached out to me, welcomed me to their meetings. I Learned so much. I still have I'm tremendously fond of the gentlemen that I met in those, they were virtual meetings, but in those virtual meetings, I have a little bit of a different viewpoint than the National Coalition for Men, which is a very secular organization. They are very egalitarian. And I, as you know, if you've been in the channel, around this channel for very long, I believe in, Little House on the Prairie, where it's pre 1950s, pre 20th century. Women actually work as the housewife in the home, in the garden, teaching the children at home, taking care of people when they're sick. Like, actually, sun up to sundown, there's always something you can be doing as a housewife. It should not be soft life. That's my new phrase. I forgot my phrase. Housewife, soft life, housewife. Anyway, so Tim shared this article on Facebook. It is written by Daniel Greenfield, and it was from the Free Press Media, FPM, which I assume is just an online publication, so to speak. And it is entitled, "Why Men Hate Kamala." And I'm going to read it with you. I've skimmed it, but I want to get into it with you. I know that's how we do things here. The subhead title is "Male Voters Were Alienated by the Joy Convention." Remember the Democratic National Convention? It was all about joy. Yeah, joy. All right, let's get into this. And I have some comments. I also printed off some of the comments. There was a ton of them, but I printed off some of the comments, the reactions to the article that I think will be interesting after, to sort of go, well, how are people receiving this? And there were a couple of women who commented, I noticed. "The joy is fading in the Kamala campaign as the latest polls show that the gap is closing. And Kamala's biggest problem is the men, white men, black men, young men." Sorry, I can't help but grin because good. Gen Z has the largest gender gap of any age group, with young men supporting Trump by margins similar to those of older men. Black men and Hispanic men have been the hardest minority groups to persuade into the Kamala camp. Isn't that interesting? I'm going to read that sentence again, because having followed politics my whole life, this is quite the change. Black men and Hispanic men have been the hardest minority groups to persuade into the Kamala camp. A New York Times article last month blamed lagging black male support for Kamala on the misogynoir that black men were suffering from. They keep making up words. Do you notice that? Like, what did we have that word, masculinism, that they're fighting in the UK? Like, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. You just hate masculinity, right? And so they're trying to say that black men are terribly misogynistic. They're suffering from it. I don't think so. I think they're becoming liberated by it. And I don't think that it's misogyny at all, because that would indicate that they hate the women. Maybe they just disagree with how things are being handled. Maybe they just disagree with, and maybe they just don't like the way the women are behaving. You know what? Women don't have a problem talking about all the things they don't like about men and all the ways they think men should do things differently. But the moment a man's like, I'm not really like, shush, you don't get an opinion. You're hateful, And I'm sick of it. And I'm glad people are like, yeah, I don't like her. Good. And you know what? You don't have to, because Why should you? Why? Because she supposedly has your same skin color? That doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense at all. Anyway, why is Kamala doing so poorly among men? One hint comes from polling numbers showing that white men went from supporting Trump by 13 points before the DNC convention to 21 points afterward. Joy, brat summer, and all the efforts to brand a presidential campaign like the Barbie movie backfired, making Kamala into Barbie and Trump into Oppenheimer. Oh man, of all the things we have read on this channel, this is my favorite so far. In case you guys didn't know. In case you didn't know, you already know that joy was the theme of the convention. You know, if you have to tell people this is joy, like you don't have it, okay? If you have to convince somebody how full of like sunshine you are, you're not. If you don't know what brat summer was, I unfortunately do, and I will tell you in the way that is least likely to have you regurgitate anything into your mouth. Apparently, the kids today are saying that's so brat to mean that's cool. And I'm sure if a young, hip person heard me say this, they'd say it was wrong. But trust me, this will suffice. So brat summer is basically like, it's just so cool. But obviously a female type, because isn't that all there is? I also think this goes back to when, I think it was when the millennials were young, the millennials who are young right now and they're in their early 30s or whatever, I think when they were young, and when the older Gen Z kids, the kids who are in their upper 20s right now, when they were young, they had these dolls that were called brat dolls, right? And they were like these little, probably about that big, and they looked like they were supposed to be like, I don't know, a 13-year-old girl, almost like a cartoon kind of character. The heads were oversized-ish, and they were called brats, B-R-A-T-Z, I think. And I thought at the time, I don't think we should be glorifying a brat. I don't think we should be turning that into a good thing. And I saw that on, Nickelodeon shows, and even the youngest of the Cosby kids started to have an attitude and be sarcastic to their parents and talk back, and it was supposed to be cute and funny. And I saw that changing. And by the way, it was the girls. It was girls doing it by and large, being disrespectful to parents and disrespectful to people. You should be respectful to all people. You should be mannerly, but they weren't doing that. Anyway, so they called that, they had these dolls called brat dolls, and I'm like, they're glorifying this. And cut to today, and we've got That's So Brat and Brat Summer. That's not anything. Seriously, do you want a president that is all about having a brat summer? It's absolutely infantile and degenerate. And now you know way too much about brats. I think you guys already knew a lot about brats before you started listening to this. Anyway, it's not just the vibe climaxing in Oprah's convention appearance that's turning off men. The vibe is a symptom of the real problem, not only with the campaign, but the candidate. Yes, Oprah made an appearance at the convention, and apparently it was like, well, when they talked about how oppressed everybody is with the billionaire that gets up on stage. Kamala is a lightweight politician running on feelings at a time when men need something more solid. Men have always needed something more solid. The joy theme told voters to turn off their brains, join the party, and stop worrying. TikTok dances make a certain kind of voter gush while completely alienating another kind of voter. Having brat summer inflicted on you when you're cutting back on groceries is salt in the wound. A trivial campaign is insulting to those who are suffering and falling behind on bills. Indeed. Indeed. But TikTok dances are the whole reason why Kamala is here. Swapping out Biden for Kamala wasn't about shifting the issues, but the personalities. Despite her disavowals of most of her past views, like banning cars, health insurance, and plastic straws, private health insurance. She wanted to ban private health insurance. You know, like how they have in Canada. They're not allowed to have private health insurance, only the public assistance. In England, there's the public system that's failing, and you can have private health insurance, but she wanted to do away with it. So there's not allowed to even opt. Communist. So she wanted to ban cars, private health insurance, and plastic straws, and the random adoption of some of Trump's economic proposals. The Democratic presidential ticket is still fundamentally the same on the issues as it was in May 2024. All that's new is the vibe. Yeah, I would say it's further to the left. They would like you to think that it's the same, but it's further to the left. And I think the men know that. In polls, men are statistically more likely to vote on issues, and women on personal characteristics. The Kamala coup offers new personal characters. I think characteristics, somebody did not, it's a good article, but I don't think they proofread it. New personal characteristics, but not issues. The thing is, I can tell you, the women think they're voting on issues. They don't think they're voting on personal characteristics. They really, if you were to ask some of these leftist women, these liberal women, Democrat women, call them whatever you want, they will say all day long, no, it's the issues. In the same breath as they're saying, I think it's about time we had a female president. Why? Why? Because we never had one. Oh, there's a reason. The DNC had no new platform. Its platform was considered so irrelevant that no one got around to editing it to remove mentions of Biden's second term. Oops, I didn't catch that. The Kamala campaign only added an issues section to its website days before the upcoming presidential debate. The message is that issues don't matter. What does matter is that Kamala is like the best friend you never had. That's sad. And Trump is a mean old man. Kamala is hardly the first politician to run on personality, not issues. But in the middle of an economic crisis, a crime crisis, and record low levels of public insecurity about the future, her glib positivity and shallow narcissism have fired up upscale liberal women while turning off men, especially working class men of all races, concerned about being able to earn a living. And aren't those the men that are the invisible ones, the ones that are cast aside, that don't matter, are misogynistic and backward and all the rest of it? All the while, they're the ones that keep this whole thing, they keep the lights on. They keep the sanitation running. They keep society running, and they're not impressed. The 2024 convention and the campaign's Zoom groups, like the DNC 2020 convention, felt like a party for members of the laptop class, a pep rally for a clique convinced of its specialness, rather than an address to the nation. That's why not just white men, but many Black men feel uniquely disconnected from a campaign for a woman seeking to be the second Black president. Obama branded his campaign as a larger racial and national achievement. But Kamala's campaign, like Hillary's, never feels like it's about anything except her. Very few Black men buy into the idea that Kamala in the White House will mean anything for them. That would be bad at the best of times, but it's catastrophic during an economic crisis and crushing inflation. Yeah. The unhappy truth about Kamala is that she has no idea how to talk to anyone outside the upper class social strata in which she began her career. Which I think is pretty interesting, considering she keeps talking about how she came from a middle class background, et cetera, but honestly, that's not true. She grew up in a very, very wealthy neighborhood in Montreal, Canada. That's right. She grew up in Canada, in a wealthy Montreal neighborhood where they speak French. But she's of the people. She's of the people. She's from the streets. Her fake persona as everyone's best friend was ideally suited to Nob Hill socialites, but wore out its welcome in any contested election. Sure did. Fortunately for her, it's been a long time since Kamala had to run for public office in a truly competitive election, and never in an election that people were actually paying attention to. Mic drop. And that's the thing that's inconvenient, is you guys pay attention. You pay close attention, and you're critical thinkers. And you are the best at detecting BS. Because you don't go with feelings and emotions. In fact, when they try to get you with feelings and emotions and sway you this way, you guys have built up like a nuh-uh, because you've been burned already by your ex-wives, by women in the workforce. You've already been burned with that, and you're not going to believe any of these, female, like the cop cam video we watched of that girl a couple days ago. You guys are like, no. And those cops are like, nah, not buying it anymore. It's too many. The boy has cried wolf. The girl has cried wolf too many times. And she's trying to cry wolf on the biggest stage in the world. And you guys are like, I don't think so. Sorry, I lost my spot. I got excited. Oh, yeah. The one where she hasn't run in any election anytime in the recent history that anybody's paid attention to. And now spotlight's on her, and she's got word salad and feelings. Kamala again. Putting together her campaign like a Taylor Swift concert series created the illusion of populism. Republican ineptitude kept her opponents from being able to define her. But instead, she disastrously defined herself around vacuous cheerfulness and TikTok memes. Yeah. Kamala locked in Gen Z women and locked out male voters. Right? Because Gen Z men are red pill. Gen Z women are blue hair militant feminists that can't wait to, end their young ones' lives. Oh, YouTube. Democrats and their media are busy blaming sexism, but the issue isn't resentment of women, but a candidate and a campaign incapable of talking to voters outside of her very narrow social circle and circle of preferences. Biden's campaign trail behavior could be bizarre, But Kamala's is just that of a blue city shut-in who can't help condescendingly speaking to everyone else. Right. Biden, his whole scam, his whole career was he's from Scranton, right? He's down with the union workers and the blue collar guys and, this, that, and that couldn't be furthest from the truth. I mean, he was making millions. He's been in the Senate since he was in his 30s. Like, come on, dude. And he moved from Scranton when he was a little boy. But people bought into it. And he started all that before everybody had the internet, could fact check for themselves. So he had that whole spiel working for him. So people believed that he was this blue collar dude. Kamala, no, lady, no. Goodness gracious. Did you see her trying to sound down with the people? And when she said, you better thank a union worker, it was like, please, lady, don't try. Don't try. I think I could do a better impersonation than she can. Kamala compensates for her inadequacies by not by getting to know other people, but by accusing them of racism and sexism. Yeah, sounds familiar, right? That's just how they all do it. Toward the end of her failing primary campaign, Kamala Harris had complained, is America ready for that? Are they ready for a woman of color to be president of the United States? Whenever Kamala's campaign hits a wall, it still brings out the same line. And we all called it before she even did it. We were like, oh, great. Now when anybody criticizes, it's going to be, oh, you're a misogynist. Oh, you're a racist. It's going to be isms and obias. Because they insulate themselves with that. Rather than considering how Kamala could better reach beyond her circle, the campaign's political allies demean men, even Black men, as bigots. Americans are not there to empower the narcissistic political ambitions of any candidate, regardless of which groups she belongs to. But they think that, don't they? They think that's what we're here to do, to empower the narcissistic political ambitions of the candidates. I think that's, if you look back in recent history, or even further back, campaigns for presidency, like you can see we're empowering narcissistic political ambitions. But this one, certainly, we've reached a pinnacle. Anyway, not there to empower narcissistic political ambitions of any candidate, regardless of which group she belongs to. It's the other way around. Political fandom, cults of personality, whose members convince themselves that they're part of something bigger, are un-American, and were rejected as evil by the founding fathers. Political representatives exist for the sake of people. People do not exist for the sake of politicians. That is how it was set up. Anyway, celebrities turn people into fans by manufacturing a false sense of intimacy. Kamala acts like she's running to be America's best friend, not the person tasked with fixing its problems. Some have been won over by the joy routine, but others, especially men, are not interested in pretending that a millionaire politician who notices them every 4 years is their best friend. And I think y'all have woken up to that too. Like, wait a minute. I don't think you're just waking up to Kamala. I don't think you're just waking up to who these politicians are and what this is all about. I think a lot of you, this political season, have come to realize that a lot of what we are watching, if not all of what we are watching, is very similar to watching WWE wrestling. Kamala's fake smiles, fake laugh, and fake friendship are turning off men of all ages and races. And there's no joy in Coconutville as Brat Summer turns to falling pole fall. So, yes, you guys you're like, no, thank you. No, thank you. We're not going to vote for someone who reminds us of the worst things about our ex-wife. We don't trust you. We are not going to believe you and trust you because of feelings. You're not going to trick us by telling us these fake stories about your childhood and you're this and you're that, and washing your collard greens in a bathtub, which is nasty, and all of you guys said that's nasty. It doesn't work. In fact, as I said, you recoil. I will say, and I know I'm biased towards Gen X being one of them, but I think Gen X overall is the best at sniffing out the baloney. We, as Björn, I'm going to get his name right, from Norway, Björn. He said, Gen X, we were raised on hose water and neglect. Yeah. And we grew up and we were like, I don't think that was right. And we started noticing stuff. And we started noticing it's not all what they told us. We're like, wait a minute, the food pyramid is not right. All these different things. And a lot of you guys are of that same spirit, even if you're just outside that age bracket. And I would say there's some Gen Z guys too now that I'm like, wait, based. They're so based. And they're just not falling for it. They're just not falling for it. They can sniff it out. You're like, wait a minute, this is a con. Why are you telling me stories when you're supposed to be telling me your plan? And why are you telling me that if I have questions that I'm a misogynist? Or if I don't believe that is in fact women's healthcare, or that is your body, I'm a misogynist. Like, no, sorry, no. Anyway, let's read some comments that were from this article. Make sure I'm not skipping any. I'm so excited to bring this article to you guys. It's like somebody actually wrote this and it got out. Better print it out before it's deleted forever. All right. This comment says, the whole left liberal feminist shtick is losing fans. If men are in the forefront of this trend, it's because we're the prime hate objects of the left. Exactly. You are. No one doubts that capable, qualified women need a fair shake. DEI madness hurts them too. Facile phonies with bad attitude be gone. Yeah, very good. A fair shake part, meh. I think we get way more of than that, but that made me think of something, that you guys are the prime hate objects. You know why you're the prime hate objects of the left? Because you guys are all that is standing in the way of the communist takeover. And you can think I'm crazy and that I'm wearing a tinfoil hat, but this country and the West has moved farther and farther and farther and farther to the left as the years have gone on. Have you ever seen the Yuri Bezmenov interview about how he talks about how like the Soviets would take over? But I don't think it's the Soviets. I think it's just communists from wherever they hail. So yeah, you guys are in the way of the West. A strong, virile, strong-minded, men, Christian men, you're in the way of communism, because there's no such thing as a utopia, and that life isn't fair and no policies can make it so. You know that. You understand math. But these people voting on feelings don't. Oh, somebody commented off of that. It may be losing fans, but not fast enough. That's true. This one says, I am trying to remember a candidate who is as empty as she is, but not a single name comes to mind. I thought Kerry, Biden, Hillary were devoid of anything past some cliches, but Kamala is simply a well-dressed ensemble of nothingness. Not even well-dressed. This next one says, she is a husk, ox-like, limp, and leaden-eyed, full of absolute evil. Wow, that person did not hold back. The next comment is, oh, I already read this one. Oops. Sorry about that. Next one. You could judge the debate by style or by substance. Those who believe Harris won have, from what I've gathered, judged by style. Unfortunately, I believe more Americans judge the debate by style over substance, which worked previously in Trump's favor. Yeah, it worked previously in anyone's favor that wasn't as good at the whole style thing. The 2008 winner, who also won in 2012 winner, Barack Obama, he was very stylish. He was a smooth talker. He was a liar. He was a liar. It was none of that was real. That was not who he was at all. But it worked. Trump won the debate on substance, hands down, a clear knockout. It is a real shame that about half the country cannot tell a blathering phony from a rational, intelligent person. That's true. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, how many copies did I print out of the same? Oh, this one's from a woman. As a female, I can say women are so much more supple to emotional messaging, to style, to be taken in by smiling liars. Women will be less likely to form their own opinion if it might cost them friends. Why do I and some others not fit the usual mold? I don't know, but I catch flack for having my own point of view. So guys, when you meet an opinionated female, don't complain so much. We vote like you do. She's got to be oppositional. Like, lady, you were good until then. Why do you have to be at the end oppositional? But okay, glad for that, whatever you said there. Okay. Never had a problem with smart, rational women. Raised my daughter as an independent thinker, and she's as conservative as me. On her own. My mother, granny, and girlfriends, the same. Girlfriends. My daughter is better in math than my late dad and me, and we're STEM guys. Gutsy, too. She stood alone against her entire high school in Minnesota during W and Iraq war protests. Glad you're on the right team. All right. Okay, sir. All right. This is part of the problem. He's raised his daughter like a guy, and he's celebrating all that, and he thinks he's doing her a favor. He's not. It's my dad, same in a lot of ways. You know, they think they're doing the right thing, and it's not. But and I wouldn't be bragging about I hope she was protesting that horrible war, but it doesn't sound like it. But you know, like I said, you can't have it all. Cat women are more nurturing. Cat women are more nurturing. I also get what you're saying. A few years back, I worked with a woman and we had a conflict, which was escalating into an argument. Tears suddenly formed in her eyes, and she said something inane and I backed off. That's how it was resolved. Men would rather do anything like that. After that, we were cordial to each other. In high school, I aced chemistry. At university, I aced 2 chemistry courses, and 20 years later, when I went back to school to become a nurse, I aced it again. Now, am I supposed to act like a flighty fluff around men and say I couldn't possibly master anything like chemistry? What is this? She said, I guess as a chick, screw that. I believe that if you're too dumb to do it, well, bub, that's your problem. Find yourself a woman more in your league. Now is not the time, though, for our own men and women to argue about women's rights. What's happening to those of us who love our freedom and our country is unbelievable. I don't want to live in the third world. I don't want to be bludgeoned into submission to people like the ghouls now in charge of America. I worry about my loved ones all the time. What's happening to all of us is real, and it's just terrifying. Okay, that was a chick, if we couldn't tell. That, you guys, some of the comments, you're just like, yeah, all that did was further prove why we have a problem. Because a lot of them don't get it, which is what I started this video saying. Do you understand what's going, not you guys, do they not understand what's going on in this society? How men are being cast as evil, bad, ignorant, backwards, you name it. And it's totally fine. You're allowed to say all that repeatedly. I never think about it when I'm making a YouTube video. I never think, well, goodness gracious, is YouTube going to have a problem with this if I say this about men? No, I know it's not a problem. It's totally accepted. But if I were in England right now, saying some of the criticisms I have about women, I'm a terrorist. Even though I can demonstrate that what I'm saying is true. It's literally, if I were to sit here and talk about the difference in the statistics between single mother households and single father household, the outcomes. I'm not making that up. But because I'm not blaming the whole thing on men, somehow it's all y'all's fault in case you didn't know, then I'm a horrible person and I'm clearly wrong. Because at the end of the day, it's man bad, woman good. Unless that man worships women, defers to them, is a giant simp, just everything is like, yes, okay, I believe you. He believes everything they say because they're honorable, they're holy and honorable, and they're sugar and spice and all things nice. And that's just not the truth. It's not the truth. I don't hate women at all. I love women. I am one. And I realize how much I was lied to and how much of the indoctrination was geared towards turning me against men, unless they were at my beck and call and did everything I wanted and agreed with everything I say. They were trying to raise us all to be, future blue-haired, militant, angry feminists who, chopped their hair off and got all tatted up and gained a bunch of weight because body positivity and stuff, because God forbid we would never want to grow our hair long and remain thin or anything like that, because men find that attractive. And how dare they? How dare you have preferences? Must be because you're just hateful and evil and bad. But women, oh no, they can have all these ridiculous preferences. And if you are a blue collar worker and you are, under 6 feet tall and you have a little bit of a receding hairline or a big receding hairline, well, then you just don't matter. You're invisible. You're gross. You're a creeper. That's where we are. And they want to say that I am hateful, that I need to be quiet. No, I'm sick and tired of being lied to. I'm sick and tired of being expected to hate you guys. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of, I don't like certain things in the way that I personally grew up, the way I was taught in school, the fact that I was at school. Why wasn't homeschooling? Why isn't homeschooling normal? Where families spend actual time together. Because it's all the state. The state wants to pull us all apart. And they want to say that people like me are causing division. I don't think so. Because when I learned these things, I feel closer to my fellow man and closer to why I was created in the first place as a woman. I don't think that I have to go out and prove myself as some mediocre man in the workforce. You know, it's just silly. So I'm glad this article is out. I'm going to be optimistic and say, I'm glad that someone like Kamala can absolutely make it 100% clear what they think of you. Because it's not just your ex-wife. It's not just the lady at your office that keeps calling you down to HR. It's not that you've put out all these applications and you can't seem to find a job. Yeah, because you're not a DEI hire. They're hiring the women. That's who they're hiring. It's less and less about a race thing, honestly, and more about the future is female. That's what it's about. And you're in their way. You're in their way. So stand strong, buy gold, be prepared, all that good stuff. Protect your peace. Feed your souls. Because this right here, all these things we're seeing, this is not all there is. This is not all there is. And the thing also that makes it, for a lot of you guys, you know that. These leftists, this world and all this materialism, this is all there is for them, So they have to control it and make it fair so that people will destroy each other, and then they take, just study the Bolsheviks and see how that all went down, and it becomes clear what's happening. But rather than class, they are using race, and by and large, they are using gender. So stay well, you guys. I will see you on the next one. I love you. Bye.